Serious. Hey Reddit, what's something medically coolinic about your body? I have little calcified spots all over the inside of my lungs from when I had chicken pox as a kid. They're harmless, but they show up on x-rays and most doctors don't have a clue what they are. The pulmonary specialist that diagnosed them asked if she could keep the x-ray films to show med students because it was so rare. I once managed to break my jaw in such a unique way that I became a case study at the local medical university. I fell off my bike and landed square on my chin. Instead of breaking somewhere in the middle, my jaw broke at the hinges. As a kid it was awesome though. Lots of ice cream and pudding for a month or so. Even though I was wearing a helmet, I almost died. I'm glad this has turned into a giant talk on safety. Saying the helmet did me no good is not an invitation to try and see what happens without one. Also, to clarify, I was riding a bicycle, nothing motorized.
Hey guys, much like you, I love reading people's stories on Ask Reddit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of weird middle school level, just thought experiment type hypotheticals like nice try Baskin Robbins. I don't find this compelling, so that's why I've made it my mission to trawl and crawl through Ask Reddit and find the very best content and put it in your ears. That's why I'm begging you, like and subscribe. If there's anything I can do to help you out, give you the kind of content that you crave to help you get through your workday, let me know in a comment. But please like and subscribe.
I don't have depth perception. This means I see the world kind of like a television screen. Everything is in September 29th, 2024. It's kinda hard to explain because I've never seen normally and I don't even know how you regular people see the world. It's not super debilitating. I can drive if I leave a huge following distance between my car and the car in front of me. Under good conditions, I can even catch things thrown at me, although I've never been good enough to do things like actually play basketball. I can still kinda gauge distance the same way you would in a video game, I guess, just not super quickly. The most annoying thing though is sometimes I'll be reaching for a door handle for a car or my house and I'll just jam my hand super hard into the door. I've even broken super thin doors just because I missed the handle. September 28th, 2024 movies just give me migraines. Congrats to that one guy, but it does not work for me. Apparently I was born with extra tendons in my knees. Found this out when I had surgery on my knee. Watched the surgery video with my doctor. Me, what's that? Doctor, oh, a tendon. Video shows him snipping it and sucking it up me. What? Doctor, it was an extra one. You didn't need it. Damn, who would think my weird body would cause my top-rated comment? Hearing loss. I was diagnosed when I was 4. Turns out aids cost a lot more than glasses. My current ones actually have a Bluetooth connection to my phone so I can listen to music while it's in my pocket. 8 hours later and exactly 4,000 upvotes. Finally my disability does some good. I have beaded hair. Everyone's hair is coated in a layer of protein, but in my hair that protein is constricted in certain places, making each stand look like it's covered in little beads. You don't notice it when you look at me, but if you're really examining my hair closely you will. Hairdressers often comment on it and will call other hairdressers over to look at it because it's rare. I have something similar. When I was 18 I decided to be a good citizen and donate blood. A few weeks later I got a massive packet in the mail from then blood bank. The letter stated, in no uncertain terms, that I had Hep C. I was a virgin at 18. I also didn't do drugs and didn't have any tattoos or piercings. So, I immediately went to my primary physician. He ran some tests and, sure enough, I had Hep C. After I explained my history to him he decided to run more thorough blood tests. Apparently, the basic blood tests run by doctors and blood banks only test for titers, the presence of antibodies. If you have the antibody for something, it is a very safe bet that you have the disease. The more thorough test looks for the disease, not the antibodies. I didn't have any trace of Hep C. The doctor told me that he would continue to request these more tests in the future. Every test for the last 10 years has turned up with no Hep C. My doctor's only explanation: I have a natural immunity to Hep C. Extraordinarily unlikely. I was exposed to Hep C and successfully beat the disease before it could set up shop. 5050 likely, or some of my antibodies, for whatever reason, are cross-reactive. This means that my body produced an antibody that is very similar to a Hep C antibody, without ever coming into contact with Hep C most likely. He asked me to use my blood results and history in a research paper. I gave him the okay, but never really heard much beyond that. He seemed to be legitimately interested in my work. I've posted before on Ask Reddit. I have JME, juvenile myoclonic epilepsy, and my seizures are synced up with my period. Yup. So growing up it took us like 2 years to figure out why my period symptoms were so bad and included bedwetting whenever I started my period. Turns out it wasn't bedwetting, it was grand mal seizures in my deep sleep. But only the first and second day of my period. All the wonders of the human body. I have leaky blood vessels in my legs. The tiny drops of blood that leak out kind of make it look like I have a mild sunburn on my legs. It's called Schamberg's disease. Sometimes I like to tell people that I have a rare, incurable disease. They automatically think it's something tragic, but nope. It's just leaky blood vessels. I had an itching in my eye for a few months. Nothing too bad, just a slight uncomfortably scratchy feeling. One particularly uncomfortable day, I decided to take a look under my lower eyelid and found I had an eyelash follicle that was much lower than the others, and the eyelash it spawned wrapped around the back of my eyeball. I pulled it out with some tweezers and it was nearly 2 inches long. You know that feeling of relief when you pull an extra long piece of snot out of your sinuses? It was kind of like that, but in your eye.
I turned 36 this year, and I decided to focus on my physical fitness, so I bought a swim club membership. The only problem was, most of the time when I go swimming, I wind up getting an ear infection. So it turns out that normal earplugs, they kind of irritate your ear canal, they don't really work, they don't keep the water out, but there is an amazing kind of earplug called Mack's Pillow Soft Silicone earplugs that, they feel great, they keep the water out 100%, they're reusable, and they don't irritate your ear canal at all, no issues. If you've ever had a severe ear infection, you don't want to experience that again. It can permanently damage your hearing if you're unlucky. So investing in these earplugs is definitely a good idea. Also, when my baby was crying later this year and I could not get to sleep, I used the same earplugs and they worked great. I was able to sleep right next to a crying baby. So be sure to click my affiliate link and purchase some of these Mack's earplugs today.
My eyes change color, but I have no control over it. Was told about it when I was 8. Optometrist thought it was pretty cool at the time. They vary from green to hazel to blue, and occasionally brown. Every so often I have people stop me mid-conversation to say that my eyes are a different color and they've noticed it. It can be pretty funny to see people flip out over the fact. I've been to several optometrists over the last few years, all of which have not been able to give me an explanation for it. To be honest, I think the most likely it's caused by some serious heterochromia which plays optical illusions on people. For those interested, here's a close-up of my eye. Here's my current eye color from the same eye. Now I understand the term rip inbox. Honestly, I'm so touched and a little awkward about how much you all seem to like my eyes. I'll try and answer as many questions as I to the people who are telling me my eyes are photoshopped. Good to know they're unbelievable. Have a new, time-stamped photo and processed from the camera as my proof otherwise. I can crack my dick. You read that right. Just like my fingers. No one has been able to explain it from the girls I've been with to doctors. The internet has no explanation for it. I'm serious, please. What's wrong with me? Lol. Edit. Disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I am in the medical field, but I have not had any training in this specific subject other than personal experiences by myself and anecdotal evidence presented by supposed trustworthy Reddit people. This is the biggest comment I've ever had. Maybe we should make a subreddit just for the dick cracking community. Name it something like Dick Crackers Anonymous. I think it's great that so many dudes and girls are learning more about dicks and possibly preventing cases of dick damage. The most fun way to phrase it. This is not something we are taught in sex ed classes. What I've learned, it seems more common than one would expect. Maybe it's one of those things not many people discuss, like squirting, etc. It's called DECADENTLY as a practice in a certain culture. Why us dick crackines do it. Feels good, can make the bothersome hard-on go away, can pulsate to give girl pleasure, can be a party trick conversation starter. It also can happen on accident during sex masturbation. It's apparently rupturing penile fracture something in the penis to make the sound. Some say ligaments, some say cubic bone. Wikipedia states, rupture of one or both of the tunica albuginea, the fibrous coverings that envelop the penis's corpora cavernous, or whatever that means. The small rupture has a chance to be really bad, to make the dick swell up into a knot and the balls swell up, causing a need to see the doctor and consecutively having a very peculiar discussion with hospital staff. Possibly operated on to correct the rupture. The big rupture fracture is reported to happen with people who have been doing it safely for years. This leads me to think the unusual occurrence to be a 1, rare occurrence, 2, build up over time, 3, excessive force on the iteration that goes too far, 4, it is worse later in age, possibly because those parts become weaker and cannot handle the crazy shit we used to do when dick crackines were younger. It can happen during normal sex, but higher chance during more intense on the dick positions, like when the girl is on top or when the guy is carrying the girl during fucking. Speculation, as there could be many contributing factors such as the genetic practices, etc. Its known permanent effects are to make the penis not stand as far up, not get hard as often, and some even speculate for it to cause erectile dysfunction. That very word strikes fear in even the heartless of men. Some guys report to do it so their dick stands more at 90 degrees rather than 130 degrees, or an angle reaching for their abdomen. This is true in my case. However, this could be just me getting older, or the DECADENTLY has been leveling out my dick angle. Some Redditors have commented that known EDSLers, Danlos, hypermobile type males, haven't encountered this occurrence. Maybe it's the dick flexibility that allows their meat noodle to not crack when bent during sex, manual attempts, or during masturbation. Some people report doing it by merely pushing their dick forward. I do mine by holding the tip in my left palm while I use my right thumb to push down on the base of my noodle. There are animals, such as canines, that have a baculum, or more easily recognized as the penis bone. Humans either used to have this and evolved out of having this bone, or never had it in the first place. One reason presented is that if a male had problems getting an erection before modern medicine, it was a sign of poor blood flow. Selection of males by females included picking males that can get it up easier, and males who couldn't get it up as well could not have as many mates or alpha females. I think we are going too deep into this, but welcome to the internet. We never know when to stop. Note, I'm at work for 16 hours today doing nothing, so I'm gonna be updating this constantly. Come back if you want to learn more about meat cucumbers. Not to brag, but I have an undescended testicle, which resulted in me getting a prosthetic ball when I was 16. It's rock solid and does not at all feel like a normal testicle, as the doctors told me it would. In fact, 10 years later it's always uncomfortable and I wildly regret it. All it did was made girls ask what was wrong with me, the complete adverse impact of what I was looking for. Thanks, doctors. My mum and my aunt are also mirror image identical twins. My mum has a little piece of my aunt's spine from where they separated. Also, because my mum and aunt have the same DNA, my cousins are genetically like half-siblings to me. And we have a ton in common, and are very close, more so than my other first cousins. I'm 31 and on my third pacemaker. First one was placed in 2003 when I was 18. I've got a cool scar, and you can feel the battery under my skin. Also, I travel a lot, so I have to carry this heady card with me so its a foreign equivalent won't make me go through the metal detectors. Thank you for all the questions and comments. You guys are all awesome. And this is why I ride with a full face helmet now. I ride MTB all mountain, trail, cross country, and occasionally city routes to get to the trails. I wear a Bell Super Air helmet with a detachable chin guard. I put the chin guard on for most trail riding. It is not hot or heavy. I have never heard of anyone wishing they had worn less protection after a fall. I am one of very few riders that use a full face helmet on one of the trails I ride. They are not in style and they are more expensive than what is probably adequate for most situations and falls. I have never been made fun of for wearing a full face. This was my inspiration for getting the helmet. It wasn't nearly as bad of a fall as it could have been. I think my condition might be one of those superpowers where the drawback is bigger than its advantages. I suffer from misophonia, which is a brain condition where I can't block out certain sounds and that I pick them up from much further away and much easier. Those specific sounds trigger strong aggression or psychological suffering, and I generally can't be around these sounds. Triggers are chewing sounds, typing, breathing, drinking noises, or any bodily sounds. So basically I have super hearing, but I can only hear things that drive me insane. I have an exceptionally rare condition called partial albinism. It means exactly what it sounds like, in the sense that I am, essentially, part albino. Basically, there are specific places on my skin that do not produce melanin or only trace amounts, which causes that skin to be lighter. The lack of melanin on the parts of my skin where hair grows causes that hair to grow lighter, ranging from light brown to blonde to white. This phenomenon is what causes part of my beard to grow blonde, while my sideburns are dark brown, and the blonde streak in my dark brown hair. The discoloration pattern along my body has been the same since I was born. For the first few years of my life, doctors had no idea what the discoloration was, and dozens of doctors examined me and monitored my growth. At first, many assumed it was an extremely early case of vitiligo skin condition that Michael Jackson had, but the key difference was that vitiligo spreads and my discoloration hadn't changed. Eventually they decided that this must be a case of partial albinism, a condition so rare that I have met doctors that have either never heard of it or don't believe me until I show them. My mum told me that when I was like 5 or 6, a bunch of doctors took pictures of me to stick in a medical textbook. To this day I have yet to see them. Edit wow, thanks for all the karma guys. I'll upload some pics this weekend when I get to my computer. Another edit, hey guys. Wow, lots of feedback and questions. No, it is not peeballdism, and no, it is not vitiligo. It is partial albinism. Here are some pics. I have this also. A doctor told me a while ago that a regular brain uses the pictures from both eyes, layers them on top of each other, and creates a September 28th, 2024 image, which is what normal people see. My brain is just like I don't like your left eye, so I'll ignore it, and without reference I can't visualize depth. I basically only see with one eye, even if both are open. If I close my right eye, my vision tilts like to the left, like switching to another camera, but goes back to the right eye as soon as I open it again. Okay, strap in for a bit of a long one here. I live in a college town, an Ivy League college town. As such, one of the best hospitals in the world is here, and some top-notch medical research is performed locally. There are always flyers around the city enticing people to do medical research, most of the time earning some form of monetary reward for their participation. I saw one of these flyers and joined up, simply because the pay was pretty high, $200 for a few hours worth of testing. It worked out to be like $30 an hour or something. I show up at the hospital and they ask me a bunch of questions, and then tell me what the study is about, diabetic research, specifically blood sugar processing speeds. Interesting. The way the test works is that I would drink a highly concentrated sugar beverage, about 12 ounces worth. The staff would then draw some blood and test it, comparing it to blood they drew before I drank the beverage. Then I would have blood drawn every 15 minutes, which would then be compared to my other blood draws. Essentially, they were going to measure how long it took for the sugar from the beverage to get into my bloodstream and how fast it started to be processed by my body. Cool. So they draw my blood and put me into a hospital bed. Then they give me the beverage, which I can only describe as orange soda concentrate, i.e. the syrup used to make orange soda before they add the soda water to it. It was disgusting. They told me I had 10 minutes to drink it, but I was like, fuck that, and drank the whole thing in about 30 seconds. While I was waiting for my next blood draw, I was allowed to do whatever, so I was on my laptop getting some work for my site done. Then the nurse came back and drew my blood for the first time after drinking the beverage. She snorted a bit when she saw the results, and I asked why. She said the sugar entered my bloodstream a lot faster than usual, which was interesting to her, but not a big deal. She came back 15 minutes later for the next draw. This time she gave a puzzled look. I asked what was up and she said that the sugar was already dissipating, which she said was highly unusual. But it wasn't a big deal either, so she went on her way. Next draw, she's actually kind of freaked out. She has never seen sugar processed this fast before. She said my body essentially put the sugar into my bloodstream instantly and within minutes was processing it. She made a few phone calls. The head of the study comes to my bed, which according to all the nurses is highly unusual because the lead of the experiment doesn't need to do grunt work like this. All the nurses now are looking at my chart with the head of the study. They weren't freaked out or anything, just highly confused. There were allegations made that the blood draws were done improperly or that I didn't drink all of the beverage, but ultimately the study had confirmed it. I processed sugar faster than anyone they've ever seen. I finally piped up and was like, what does this mean for me? I was told that if all this data is correct I will most likely never be diabetic and be skew all of their research results. They were trying to prove how slowly the body processes sugar, and my mutant ability to process it faster than anyone they've seen over 2 years of research was knocking down their score. But it was too late. I was already on the bed. By the time I was let go a few hours later, my blood was almost completely back to normal. I got my 200 and went about my day. My X-Man superpower is processing sugar. Note, I'm not a scientist and only was able to glean what was going on through my experience there with the nurses and researchers. If any of this seems way off or crazy, I may either have heard things wrong or misinterpreted what I was told. This comment is blowing up. I realize this is a little bit of shameless self-promotion, but it is kind of relevant. Here's a blog post on my website where I briefly talk about the testing and includes a pic of me on my laptop in the hospital bed as I described above. Lots of people are asking about it, so you can see how skinny I am in another one of the pics. Note, the site has some NSFW elements to it, but this post in particular is fine, you've been warned.
I turned 36 this year and I decided to focus on my physical fitness, so I bought a swim club membership. The only problem was, most of the time when I go swimming, I wind up getting an ear infection. So it turns out that normal earplugs, they kind of irritate your ear canal, they don't really work, they don't keep the water out, but there is an amazing kind of earplug called Mack Pillow Soft Silicone earplugs that, they feel great, they keep the water out 100%, they're reusable, and they don't irritate your ear canal at all, no issues. If you've ever had a severe ear infection, you don't want to experience that again. It can permanently damage your hearing if you're unlucky. So investing in these earplugs is definitely a good idea. Also, when my baby was crying later this year and I could not get to sleep, I used the same earplugs and they worked great. I was able to sleep right next to a crying baby. So be sure to click my affiliate link and purchase some of these Mack earplugs today.
Maybe late to the party, but I think this is pretty cool. My sister and I are some of the first kids to be born using in vitro fertilization and implantation. We have the same biological father and the same surrogate mother. So our dad is our biological dad, but my mom isn't my biological mom because she's had a hysterectomy. Anyway, they wanted kids and hired a surrogate, and my sister was made through basically a turkey bastard of my dad's spunk shoved up the surrogate's fag. My mum laughs when she tells the story because she felt like it was a drug deal. They would meet Karen the surrogate at a hotel and drop off this little brown bag with a cup of my dad's jizz, and then Karen would try to get prego. And she did. Happened fast. My sister was born first and Connie Chung was at her birth. I was made in a test tube with sperm and eggs that had been frozen when my sister was still being created. They thawed that shit and put it together and mixed it and watched me grow into a little thing and then jammed me into Karen's uterus where it took over the work. Connie Chung was not at my birth. This happened back in the late October 1st, 2024, so it was kind of a big deal that sisters with the same biological parents were made through different ways of artificial impregnation. Other than that, I'm pretty normal. No weird health issues or anything. I have pectoral aplasia, or pollen syndrome as some may know it. This means I was born without a pectoral muscle on the right side of my chest. A quick Google image search should give you a good idea of what it looks like. Tried surgery that took tissue from elsewhere and put it in my chest, but the minimal gains were not worth more painful surgeries and recovery times. I'm happy to be as nature intended, and the right person will come to me. I only have one as well. I did not know until I was 21, having an ultrasound searching for cause of abdominal pain, it was appendicitis. When Doc told me, I was shocked and said, "What does that mean for me?" He just said not to donate it. We can function just fine with one. I got to uterine and service as a bonus. I am also capable of doing this. Upon doing further research, I found the following. There is a technique thing known as taekwondo, which means to click in Kurdish. It's compared to cracking knuckles and believed to be painless. However, it's considered by doctors, those who know about it anyway, which I imagine isn't many because it's so weird, to be dangerous and likely to cause a penile fracture. After I learned this, I never did it again. I'm missing the last bone in my right middle finger. My friends call me Frodo, probably should have included these just to clarify. This isn't a birth defect. When I was doing some squats in high school, I fell to the side and my reflexes kicked in, so I put my hand out on the safety bar to steady myself. So a 405-pound barbell slammed into the end of my middle finger and took off the end of it. I'm lucky it didn't just hit my whole hand. I'd probably not have it anymore if it did.
Hey guys, do you ever have a problem getting to sleep at night? Well, I've got the magic pill to cure your insomnia. Much like you, I used to twist and turn all night. But then I discovered that you can take melatonin and Valerian Root together to get a good night's sleep every single night. I've been taking it every night by for years and years. I've been taking Valerian and melatonin, and this is my life hack to get a good night's sleep and vivid dreams every night. So be sure to click my affiliate links, and I will give you the gift of a good night's sleep.